It is a great honor and a privilege to introduce Marta, Zemanek, Ladany, Flatto. We're here in your beautiful home in Rishon LeZion. And Marta, you have one of the most amazing stories. How your family survived the Shoah, being on the Kastner train in Bergen Belsen. If you could tell us a little bit about the history behind your survival and your family.
Okay. My name is Marta Flatto today. I was born on 11 July 1941 in the city of Novi Sad that was at the time in Yugoslavia. My mother was Piri Piroshka Kasovic and my father was Bela Zemanek. At the age of 6 months, it was in January 1942, the Hungarian troop entered Novi Sad with some kind of list. Mostly they have been searching rich people, take them out in the middle of the night in a very cold winter when the Danube was frozen, and march them down to the Strand. Strand was the amusing place and the swimming place on the bank of the Danube where people used to spend their time. So some of the people have been walking, the others that they took from far away by tracks took them to the bank of the Danube. And then they put the families or the women in 4 rows and put them in some kind of small hill of snow, and they had to make holes in the Danube because it was frozen, and then shoot the people and throw them to the Danube. After a while they decided it's pity for the bullets, because if you throw them to the Danube they will freeze and anyway they won't survive. And in this row were my parents and another aunt, another sister, and my grandfather, who was in the end of the row. My grandfather, Max Kasovic, had 5 daughters. 3 of them lived permanently in Novi Sad, 1 lived in Belgrade, and 1 in Zagreb. So we have been on the bank of the Danube, and they said that my mother and her sister ran ahead because they couldn't stand the climate and the waiting in the row, because people calculated I am the 10th on the row, it takes about 2 minutes from one to other. What shall I suffer now 20 minutes in vain? There is no other way. So they jump ahead. My mother was with her son. I had her elder brother who was born in 1938, his name was Robbie, and with me. I was 6 months, a crying baby, a frozen baby. I am called ill today, and in some stage, I don't know exactly if she went ahead, if they took her out from the row, and what happened to me. Did somebody take me? Did she give me at the last moment to somebody? And then everybody wanted to get rid from this package, and I arrived to the end of the row. After a few hours, this whole action, it was called razzia, stopped. Came someone from Budapest and gave an order to stop it. And so I arrived to my grandparents, who were at the end of the row, and they survived, and they took me there and my brother. And they moved to live in the house of my biological parents because it was a smaller one and it was easier to heat it than their big house. Now, we have survived this razzia 4 children. a cousin who was 10 years old, another cousin of 5, my brother who was 3, and I was 6 months. The story or the version that I grew up was that we have been hidden in a basement by a nanny. Okay. And the other thing was, or the continuation was, that I was brought to Budapest to the elder sister of my mother, who from Belgrade escaped when Belgrade was bombed in 6th of April 41 to Budapest. And I was with them. I have a document, 31 May 42, I arrived to Budapest under the name Marta Zemanek, and I received some bones to get food. This was some ration. And I know that my father was a Zionist, and this was the way we arrived to Bergen Belsen. Now, when I'm using the word my father or my mother, I mean the parents that adopted me, because I didn't remember, I didn't know my biological parents at all. I just know the age of them, where were they born, and where were they killed. And I know that my mother, biological mother, learned optics in Paris, and my father had a big warehouse. He was trading with grains to the army, supplying of grains. And there were rich people and very loving couple. And they married from love, because there was other stories in the family. 2 Katowice girls married 2 Zemanek males. So I have a double cousin who belonged to the sister of my mother. She survived, and she is living still in Paris. And you know, we lived in Budapest. Then my parents intended to go to Palestine. This was the aim of the Kastner train. And when Kastner belonged to the Vada L'Atzala, to the commission who picked up the people, he was the one who sponsored, because he was a rich man. And one of the issues was to give money to survive, to save the people. Then the Vada L'Atzala collected young people, many youngsters from small villages around Budapest and Slovakia as well, were sent to Budapest, because the parents knew that they might assimilate in the city, and in the small villages there is just one way. And those Jews were collected by the Mizrahi, and there was the religious people and the secular and the rich people. So we have to move from the ghetto to the Columbus Street, where they kept us for several weeks, and from there on trains toward Bergen Belsen. My mother, she managed to see on the small fences, small windows that were on the cabin, because it was a cattle cabin, and she saw the North Star, and she realized that we are driving to the north instead of to the south. So after a while we arrived to Bergen Belsen, and we have been located in barrack number 10 and half of barrack number 11. I was at the age of 3. We arrived there in 25th of June, 44. And in July I was 3 years old. In Bergen Belsen, we kept in barrack the families together. They didn't separate us. I even think that we didn't go with the David Star. We didn't work just to go to the appels. And there was ration of food and no sanitary, no nothing. The food that was some kind of cattle food, we call it selek behemoth, if you know. It's not a real selek, but a big one that you give for the cattle. And there was some soup of this. Meanwhile, I got high fever, scarlatina, that is a very contagious disease, and everybody was afraid not to let the local authorities to know about this, because if they take me to the hospital, this is the end. So my mother, Sofia, she was a very skilled woman. She found an empty building, what was actually a latrina. You know what's a latrina? That was empty, nobody used it, so she hid me there most of the day. And when there was the appel, my father, Dionys, who was an intelligent person and knew Germany, he so-called helped the capo to count the people. When the people were staying in the row, the 5, 5, 5, he asked 5, 5, 5, how many is this? So they said this is 60. Oh, 2 is missing. Go into the barrack and look how many people are inside. So he said the number, the fit, the counting that it was the previous day. I don't remember those things. Now I come to the main point. All that I'm telling you is from investigation. My parents didn't tell us nothing behind this, that I was hidden in the basement. To make it more excited, the story of the adoption was unknown to me. They never spoke about it, never mentioned, and I found it out after my father died and after when I was already married 6 months.
And you never suspected? Or
I suspected, and I asked questions and I received different kind of answers. And when I told to my friends years later that I'm adopted, but you said that when you have been 14, you always said that you had the feeling that those are not your parents.
And Shaul, your brother, he never mentioned
I know,
it?
this is the amazing point. Not Shaul, not our elder sister, nobody ever told me. You know, kids used to quarrel, blah, 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 and I wasn't so obedient child. But they never told me about this. I have discovered it later. So you can understand it was kind of shock, but I survived it. It took me a year to convince myself to find a way to say my mother that I know the truth, because she was scared from this. And she wasn't a warm person, not only for me, also not for Polly, Shaul. This was a type of monarch, strict education, time is time, word is word, ration with the food, ration with the clothes. This what was. If I, for example, complain that I don't have a new dress forever, look down to those who doesn't have even one. Okay? So, okay, I married. After finishing high school, gymnasium, I went to the army. I was in the Shirion 2 years. Then I went to Jerusalem to the School of Medicine. I studied to be a pharmacist. I have a degree, Magister Farmacia. Meanwhile, I'm married, a Polish Holocaust survivor. And we brought 3 children, a daughter and 2 boys. I worked as a medical representative for different drug companies, mainly Israeli, and invested a lot of time in the children, took them to different activities in the afternoon, swimming, basketball, gymnastics, whatever. And meanwhile, I took some courses, Italian, French, just to enrich my knowledge, because if the children are not at home, what shall I do? And after 24 years of marriage, we divorced. My ex-husband went to Australia, and later he came to a visit to the bar mitzvah of one of the grandchildren, and he passed away. He's buried in Haifa. Okay, after my divorce and after 17 years as medical representative, I was already overqualified, and I decided that I want to do something else, because I didn't like to be pharmacist at all. But nobody asked me. My father decided there was a pharmacy, the family, you will get it and inherit it, blah, blah. Sorry, I didn't like the work in the pharmacy, and I didn't want to be an owner of a pharmacy. So I went and made a course to be a travel guide abroad, and after years I made also the course to be a local guide in Israel. So I worked from 87 till 2002. I combined the 2 professions. In the summer I took Israeli abroad, and during the year I was guiding tourists who came mainly from Hungary and ex-Yugoslavia, because I was expert in those languages. In English there are a lot of others. Okay, at the age of 60, 2002, a little bit later when came the Intifada, I quit. There was no work, and then I was looking what to do as a retired person. The children were adult already. Actually, 2 boys were at the time in the army, parallelly 1 year. One was in Tzanchanim, one in the Shirion, and my daughter was in Chel Avir when she served. And then I said to myself, okay, I need to find something to volunteer, to do something with my time. And the family history attracted me very much, and then I have decided to search my origin and to try to find out how did I survive it all. Because the official story that I heard is that I was hidden in the basement of the house. But as I knew the character of the Hungarian people, it was impossible that some nanny will take the responsibility and hide in the basement 4 children. I was 6 months. My mother was breeding me. So I had to start from somewhere. And I went to the people who lived in Novi Sad, who knew me, and most of them knew we lived in. Everybody knew that who were my parents and my grandparents. Only they didn't tell me. So there were no surprise when I told them. So they told me stories, and as much as I could hear from her, everybody said, you couldn't be hidden in the basement. No way. No way. Your mother would not leave you. And when we came to our house, my grandfather and grandmother took care of me, and they sent the two other cousins to Budapest to show our parents. And my brother Robbie, who was a very talented Czech player and also music, he was given to another sister of my mother, Ilona Kosovic. She was a very famous pianist at the time, a professor in the Academy of Novi Sad, and she was married to Lompe Lozzi, the uncle of Tommy Lompel. Lapid, yes. This is our family connection by marriage. They have been married for 15 years and divorced because my aunt, the pianist, she was not a very common person. Artists are somehow different kind of people. I'm not going to give any details. So she couldn't handle Robbie, and she gave him back to my grandparents in Novi Sad. I was at the age of 10 months that a cousin of the Kosovic family, a young woman, unmarried, she took me by train to Budapest because grandfather and grandmother, who were almost more than 65 years old, to take a small baby to such long train, it could be suspicious. So this lady, Marta Kosovic, she took me to Budapest and to the Ladany family. The double cousin Eva was taken by other family relative who didn't have any children, and the daughter of my father's sister, who was 10, 12 years old, they tried to put her in some boarding house, but she never get arrested. They told her her parents went to Palestine and left her back. She didn't believe to this. And at some stage came some far relative from her father who was married to a Christian. And my grandfather said, no way, you are not going to stay with these Gentiles. I will take you to me, although I am not obliged, you are not my cousin. So she got calmed down when she was with grandfather. It was Olika and Robbie with grandfather. And they had some life in Novi Sad. My grandfather had his private bank. He was a rich person, he could afford himself. But when the German came in, they took all the Jews from Novi Sad and the area. Now Novi Sad was the capital of Vojvodina. Yugoslavia, the confederation, existed 6 republics and 2 autonomy places. Kosovo and Vojvodina were the autonomic, and the rest were Serbia, Croatia, Slovenia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Dalmatia, and Macedonia. So about Vojvodina, there was always a clash with the Hungarian because it belonged to the Austro-Hungarian monarchy. And the Hungarian claimed Vojvodina back. So they entered in January 42 to Novi Sad when Belgrade was already captured by the German. So, since the German entered on 19th of March to Budapest, later they came down to Novi Sad to take the rest of the Jews who survived the razzia. So my grandfather and grandmother, my brother Robbie and Olika were taken to Auschwitz with the last transports as much as I investigated, I got information, they were the one who arrived over the end and directly to the crematorium. So this is the story.
Marta, can I just ask you, with all your research, can you tell us a little bit about Belgrade? What happened in Belgrade?
What I know about Belgrade, this is only for research, because I was born in July in Novi Sad. I was not in Belgrade. Only what I heard and what I read in the books. Shaul told you that the bomb fell in our house. The house was in a very elegant quarter. Today there are ambassadors living there. And a bomb fell directly on the house. My grandfather, we lived in the house with the grandparents, the Ladany grandparents. They lived also in the same house. And my father, Ladany, he was in the infantry. So actually I know that they gathered the Jews to a place that was exhibition center, the Sajmište in Belgrade. They took all the people there who enlisted, who went, because many people escaped after all. There was some command to give jewelry, to give up jewelry, to give radio, etc. My mother, who was at home with her grandparents and 3 children, and there was a staff. Every child got a nanny, then was a cleaning lady, etc., etc. So we moved to the office of my father. My father, he was a patent attorney, and he had in the city an office, and there was a couch, whatever, and they moved to, they found some refugee there. Meanwhile, the Yugoslav army heard that Yugoslavia was conquered by the Germans. Then the soldiers quitted their position, and my father started his way back to Belgrade. And as he told us, somewhere on the way, he changed his clothes and boots with some peasant and catch the train. And before they arrived to Belgrade, he jumped out because he saw that when he will arrive to the main station in Belgrade, they will search officers or deserters. And since he looked like a peasant and didn't have normal shoes, he managed to reach the house in Belgrade, Senjak, and some of the neighbors saw him and said, "Don't worry, your family is in the office." So he went to the office, and they decided to escape and arrived to Budapest with the idea that they know Hungarian, they can assimilate in the Hungarian people. The rest, Polly told you. Okay.
But what happened to the Jews of Belgrade? It became Judenrein.
No, they have been taken to the Sajmište. It was an exhibition territory, and it started to be crowded. Then outside the city, they took forced labor and digged graves and took the people by tracks to this place, but the track was still closed for all sides. People were inside, and the driver took the exhaust and put it inside the cabin where were the Jews, and was driving around the city. And when he realized that nobody is alive anymore, they went to Janica, those places where they dig the shuchot, dig graves, and they saw all the people there and so-called buried them. And those who managed to run away survived, and then they collected them. There was a concentration camp in Croatia, Jasenovac. Some of the people arrived there. Jasenovac was one of the worst concentration camp because the people were thriving, and they have been killing them, by stones, by beating, not with guns, but they didn't have guns, just in garzenim, patishim, things like this.
And was it the Croats, the Croatians?
Yes. But they didn't distinguish if they are Serbs, if they are Jews, or if they are gypsies, because there were also gypsies. So people were spread. Everybody tried to save himself as much as he could. After we have been liberated from Bergen Belsen, we stayed over for some time in Basel. My father, he was a chemist, so he found job at Professor Reichstein, that later received the Nobel Prize. And when everything was over, they decided to go back to Belgrade to serve the family, to see who is still alive. When we have been in Camp de Refugees in Switzerland, Caux sur Montreux, we had the possibility to go to the States and also to go to Africa. And even before going to Bergen Belsen, we had a chutzpah from Karl Lutz to go to Swaziland, somewhere in Africa, but not to Switzerland. Anyway, we came back to Belgrade. Here I have some memories. The house was under construction. I remember the sand in the garage so we could play like a child. And I started school there, first class, and there was a big nice house. I slept together with my brother and sister. We all the children were in one room. And the first day when I went to school, our nanny, I went with Shaul, we went together into the same school. And the next day my mother said, a pupil has to go to school alone, without any shepherd to guide him. Okay? So I went to school. I finished the first degree in the Cyrillic letters and started the second year. I don't remember nothing in Cyrillic. And then we came to Israel. We arrived in December 48.
Can I just ask you, Martha, what is your very first recollections that you remember? Any memories, your first memories?
I remember that on our way from Bergen Belsen to Switzerland, we stopped somewhere. Now I know that this was a point where we switched the trains from the German to the Swedish. And Slicha, city שם פיפי. And then when we arrived to Caux, in Hotel Esplanade, this was a 5-star palace at the time. And I remember that it was in December 45. It was in December, everything was snow, so white, so nice. And I was in a room, I was in the corner, and my mother was nearby. And Polly came to the room. Something made him nervous, I don't know what was it. And he took a small emile pot for 1 glass milk. And he threw it to the wall, and I made like this, not to get hurt. And the one ear of this was broken. And we brought it to Israel, and my mother used it in the evening to warm a cup of milk. And one day I asked her, do you remember what happened to this? Yamra, no. And then I told her the story, and she stopped for a moment and said, you know, you are right. It was this. And then a few things I remember from Basel. My mother went to a big store and left me in a mischakia, what we have now in the shopping center. I have a picture that I went to a kindergarten in Zurich. I don't remember nothing. And my mother told me that I didn't learn not half a word. I didn't open my mouth. And on this picture, I am pushing a carriage with a doll. But I don't remember nothing. From Belgrade, I remember I got friends, Pravoslav. We have been invited to them to the holidays. Once I remember we went to the synagogue, maybe it was Rosh Hashanah. And have you been in the synagogue in Belgrade? No. This is a very big synagogue, and the floor was made by glasses, like bricks of glass. And one of them was broken, and my leg fell inside. And it was full of blood. This I remember. I don't remember more religious things. I remember family used to come to us. Yeah, I remember. Once when I was 5 years ago, I was sent to visit my Aunt Ila, who lived in Novi Sad, a pianist who survived the war, and the one who was married to Lampel, and I went to visit her. I was sent alone by train.
And you were only 5?
Yeah. It's about 70 kilometers. It was. And I arrived there, and she was waiting for me. And she started to cry. She cried a lot, and then we went to a doctor, give her some shot, and then we went to a pub, and she was drinking beer, and she gave me to drink beer. It was so bitter. It was so bitter. Years I couldn't drink beer. And then she took me to many places, tell everybody this is little Marta, this is little Marta. And I remember she got 2 big pianos, black, Bösendorf, they've been staying like this. And on weekend she used to play with her professor, Milica Moch, mostly Chopin and Beethoven. And all the neighbors came around. So I was there for a while, and this was the last time I saw her. I never saw her again. And
did she remain in Yugoslavia?
Yeah, she remained. Later on, she passed away. She went through some kidney operation. It was complicated, and then she didn't survive. But she used to give concerts in Germany, in other places as well. And she never married once again. I didn't have any children. So then in 48 in December, I remember the last night in Belgrade before we came. I remember several scenes on the ship before we arrived, and the most expressive scene was when we arrived to Haifa in the evening, and everybody went out on the deck to see the lights. The lights, and it was, full of lights, and suddenly the light went off and we couldn't see it anymore. They said that it was a massacre. some threatened that it will be bombed, and we went back to the sea, and only the next day we came back and arrived to Israel. And since we have been on the sea about 4 or 6 days more than it was planned, because the storm on the Mediterranean, it was winter, it was the 28th of December, and it became short of food. People were vomiting. Actually, it was a trade ship. So we have been on benches, 3 floors, and no food, no sanitary. And when people were on the deck, they pushed them to throw out to the sea. And then when we arrived to Haifa, they made us fleet to clean us. You know, we accepted it to something positive, because my mother, she remembers the lace that we had in Bergen Belsen. But some people from other countries saw that it was unhuman to do this. They were humiliated. No. And from there we went to Bet Olim, to Ber Yaakov, about 2-3 weeks. And then we were told that Lod was liberated and we can go and look for our house. So my father and Shaul went on the railway route to the city, found some decent house, and we moved there. No water, no electricity, no food, nothing. And then we went to the tower of water to bring water in cans, like in the biblical days. I finished their elementary school. I was a member of a youth organization, Anor Oved. I liked the atmosphere, the friends, and those friends that I have till today are from those days.
And can I ask, being a survivor, how were you treated by the Israeli kids?
All the kids in Lod were Holocaust survivors.
They were all.
So we knew this is not his father, this is not his mother, this is second marriage. Everybody had something. We lived together with Polish, Bulgarian, Moroccan, Turks, Romanian. All were new immigrants, Holocaust survivors.
And did you speak to each other about the
No.
Shoah?
No.
And with your parents, did they speak to you?
No. We didn't know Hebrew at all. Not Hebrew, not Tanakh, nothing. My father didn't know how to pray. We kept about 2 or 3 holidays in a year. Rosh Hashanah, we have been gathering, but never gefilte fish. We lighted candles in Hanukkah. I have a very beautiful Hanukkah here, and Passover, Knedalach. And my mother had a Rosenthal plate and put all the things for Passover, and it should stay on the piano 8 days. But we ate bread as well. I don't remember that we ate only matzahs. No. And my mother and my father used to fast on Yom Kippur. When I was a child, in a way they forced me. And in Yom Kippur there was an interesting thing. In Lod were quite a number of newcomers who had common language. For example, the Hungarian, New Hungarian, the Slovak spoke Hungarian, Yugoslav, Slovak, also Hungarian. The other, we speak with them Serb. So there was some gathering of those people, and there was one of them called Farkas who was religious, in Kippur, no fanat. And we had a club called Hanasenesh Moadon, and in Yom Kippur we made a tefillah. I don't know if you, a rabbi we didn't have, no Chazan, only this Farkas, and everybody went to this club, and the children we have been running, and when they started the maskir, all the kids were driven out and I had to stay in. And I didn't know why, because I was an orphan. I was supposed to say Kaddish.
And also for Yisko.
For Yisko, no, Yisko. So, but I had to remain there, and they didn't explain me why. Later, when I knew the truth, I understood why it should have, but they didn't explain me nothing.
And when you found out, were you upset with your parents that they never told you?
No, see.
Or could you understand maybe why they didn't tell you?
It was combined. See, actually, my mother received me because my grandfather decided that I am going to her. She had already 2 children. She knows how to raise another one. The pianist was given my brother, but she was not capable to him. Other sister, I said we have been 5, 2 died. The 5th one was married to a Christian. And when she married, my grandfather made Kriya Beshiva. You know, he was not a religious person. But to convert and marry a Gentile, this was a red line. So she was the default to take another child. And later, other cousins said me that they wanted me, but their grandfather decided, I am going to her. So you live with all these things all around. And there were a lot of small signs that with my imagination I could somehow put them together. And once I was 17 years, and I was not an obedient child, and as we call today, I hyperactive. But I managed and I studied everything, and I almost said, you behave like a stepmother. And she just went out of the room. She didn't answer me. So we didn't speak about this issue. Anyway, when she got old, I was the one who took care, and I took her to the doctors here and there. Almost 2 times a week I entered, because in my work I had the possibility to visit her, to bring her, to take her all she needed. Shaul was in sabbaticals many times around the world, not only South Africa. He was in the States, he was in Australia, so I was here.
And your sister, I think she went to France.
My sister left Israel after my father died. And she lives in Brussels.
In Brussels?
Yeah, she's married and she has two boys and 1 grandson.
And the rest of the family, do you still have contact with Anyone else from the family?
Yes. I told you that one of the sisters married a Gentile, a Christian. My mother was changing letters with her. But there were no warm relationship between two sisters due to the fact that my grandfather said mukte. I don't know how to say it in English, that she is not welcome in the family. Anyway, she gave birth a son.
And the son's Jewish?
My grandfather took the child to the Kehila, to the Mohel, and he was circumcised. And in the brackets, you know this formula that you showed me, there is a question, legal, illegal, girl or son. And legal or illegal, it was written, parents married in civil marriage. But at the time it was not compulsory to have Jewish wedding. You had to have the civil one. And they gave him a name, Yitzhak ben Avram. And they remained in Zagreb, and we came to Israel. So they have been changing letters. We are short of coffee in Zagreb. We are short of this. We are this or that. We have oranges. Anyway, you know, such a very dull information about the economic situation in the two countries. And one day her husband died, of my aunt. She came to Israel. She was a professor for English and German phonetics in the University of Zagreb. And one day she came, we went to the airport, I recognized her at the moment, and there was some kind of click from the very moment. And I remember that she was going on the streets and saying, this is Aleph, this is Bet, this is Gimel. He was here a while, and afterwards we started to correspond. There was time already that I learned English at school. And like a professor, I sent a letter and I received it back with red lines, the mistakes I got. So I stopped writing her, and one day I received a letter from her son, who was a doctor, that his mother is very ill, she got cancer, and so. So I have decided that I want to go to meet her. I didn't get any visa for Yugoslavia. It was impossible to get any visa. I tried several times, no. And then it was some kind Bein Hazmanim, as we say, from Purim and Pesach. My husband came back from Miluim, and I said, now listen, I want to go to Zagreb to meet my aunt. She's going to die. This is my chance. And I buy a ticket to Athens, and from Athens nobody will ask me if I have visa to Yugoslavia. I bought a ticket, I arrived to the border, they tried to make me problems. Summa summarum, I arrived to Zagreb and knocked at the door to the sister-in-law. I said, I am Marta from Israel. Ah, welcome. At 3 o'clock we shall go to the hospital. And we went to the hospital. My aunt, she recognized me at the moment, started to speak Hungarian. And after a while her son came, opened the door. Who are you? I am Marta from Israel. Okay. When I finish my shift, come to my office, we shall talk. We have been sitting there speaking in English. My grandfather could turn down, his grandson are communicating in English. And he asked me, why did you come? why didn't your brother come? Why didn't your sister? I said, I don't know what they think. I want to know you before your mother dies. When she died and I come, you will ask me, who are you? And this is the beginning of a very good and friendship and love and contact till these days.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And then I met her, it was in 78, 79 she passed away. And in 83, when my elder son was bar mitzvah, I organized all the family around the globe. I organized visas here that waited for them in the airport. So the family from Yugoslavia came, my sister from Brussels, some family, my cousin who lives in France, in Paris, cousins from the side of my husband from Sweden, and who came all, and my cousin from the state. We have been 53 people, all family here. I prepared everything. About 20 people were sleeping here.
In this apartment?
Here, and we made the Aliyah Torah in the synagogue, and I provided accommodation and food, and one day I hired the bus, we went to Masada, and this was in 83. Then I met them from time to time because I was a guide and I managed to be in Paris, all this there. And when I was 60 years old, it was in 2001, I said, my children, look, I want you to come with me to the island where they have their summer house. It's called on the island of Brač, on the coast of Croatia, near Dubrovnik, near Split. Give me your time, a week, all the expenses on my behalf. Man, what shall we do there? What is this, a week? This is nothing. You want 2 weeks? Okay. I bought tickets, I hired a minivan, and my granddaughter was 5 months. So we went for 2 weeks to this island called Brač. So they asked me, what shall we do? 3 days, please stay with the family, then take the car. Shalom, you can travel. We have been there 12 days. And every year since then, I'm going there, and 2 years ago all the family was, and there have been several times all these meetings.
It's wonderful.
So we keep very tight. And now we are on the telephone, and really, and last year I was there, I went alone, and they told me you are too old, so hopefully I will be able to go this summer as well.
And Marta, have you been back to the town that you were born in? And
yes, I visited Novi Sad several times. I was in Belgrade. I visited since in work and in private also. Yes. So I keep the family together as much as I can, because we didn't have grandmother and no aunt, no. You know, we didn't have here in Israel close family, only very, very far relatives. They are also passed away meanwhile. So I'm keeping the family together as much as I can. My son lives in Herzliya with 2 children. Every second Friday they come for dinner. Meanwhile the other comes. My daughter is living up in Eshchar, this near Carmiel. So one granddaughter lives here in a rented house. Every 2 or 3 weeks I see somebody. Every week somebody is coming. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And here we have a picture. This is from your brother's book.
This is from Lod. I know this picture.
And you are on the left.
I'm the small one.
So
You ask me?
in the picture.
Yeah.
Wait. So
Yes.
I'm just going to So this is you with Shaul and Eva, who lives in Paris. And this was from 1956, this picture.
We lived in Lod. This is in Lod. No.
And
The
Eva,
balcony is not on the Lod. No.
this was in 56.
This was in Lod and this is in Ramat Chem. Later.
And Martha, now you've done a lot of research about your parents,
Yeah.
your biological parents.
Yeah. So, considering my father, I didn't know nothing. Really nothing, because my grandmother, she was thrown to the Danube. 2 cousins in the Danube, Shari, Hugo, everybody in the Danube. And I found the tomb of my grandfather Zemanek in Novi Sad. And in the Jewish community, it was written that he was born in Czechia. Where in Czechia? So, and his father was from Zrenjanin. This is a city near Belgrade. So I went to Zrenjanin, I went to the archive, I found his profession. He was a tailor and a tapezierer. You know what is a tapezierer? Rapad. מי שעושה רהיטים, שם ציפוי.
With the furniture.
Furniture, but not the wood, the
upholstery.
clothes. Yes. And he had a big shop of clothes, and I even found a document from 1822 that he was appealing for a license to have a stand in the local fair in Zrenjanin. Because you know, when Jews started to wander from the cities, from the villages to the cities, the urbanization, they used to meet at the marketplace once a month or like that, and they are selling their goods. And what profession had the Jews at the time? Maybe they brought some milk product or some furs or what they had been eating. But he could go away with his sewing machine. So he was asking for a stand for his clothes. And later he got license to sleep in the city. And when one Jew arrived, he has to have a minyan. And then he has the mikveh. So one brought the others. I want to show you a few pictures. We came to Israel, and relatives who lived in Budapest, who remained there for their reasons, and also a part of the family went to Morocco, to Casablanca, lived there. Another part was in Switzerland, and always when they came, they told me that they wanted me, but grandfather decided differently. How much it is true, I don't know, but that my grandfather decided to whom I will go, this is for sure. And one of them told me that after the grandson, the boy, was born, she went to tell it to grandfather, because grandfather had he had actually 6 daughters, but the one died when she was 9 months. So he was left with 5 daughters, as much he wanted a son. Now his daughter, who is married to a Gentile, has a son. So he, without permission, took it to the Kehila, what I told you. And when my aunt heard it, she took the child and went out and was standing on the railways. She wanted to commit suicide because she was afraid from her husband.
Because he had a brit milah, he had a circumcision.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, he grew up, and when he realized that he is different, so even they didn't know. They said he had some kind of illnesses, therefore he looks different. And at the year 92, it was 50 years to the razzia. Then I went first time to the commemoration that was in Novi Sad. That was already war, and I went to Kehila and I saw the document. And when I told them, they didn't know it. They didn't know. I showed them that this was...
They didn't know?
No, they didn't know what he had. He didn't know.
The mother didn't tell?
No. Anyway,
does he practice any
no, he doesn't practice nothing Jewish, but he had a younger brother. His name was George. He was the Jewish type. He has a Jewish feeling. His younger brother, who is not Jew. Meanwhile, both of them passed away. The youngest one passed 6-7 years ago, and Ritko, the last cousin, he passed during the corona about 4 years ago. But he was already 17. No, he was 82 already. Yeah, but he was very ill. Anyway, at the year of 2003, I went to Zagreb to visit my cousin, and my cousin, the Jew, brought me a box full of letters. He intended to sell the house of his mother and found in the celery a box of letters written in Hungarian, but he doesn't know Hungarian, he knows only Croatian. So he gave me the letters. All were written in handwriting. Now I speak Hungarian, but I don't read Hungarian. I can read if it's printed, but not handwriting. So I asked my other cousin, I have a cousin, a far cousin in Budapest, that we are in very close relationship. She is younger than me here. And I said, now listen, please, I give you the letters. You just read them and type it in normal Latin letters. When you finish, I send you ticket, come to Israel. So she managed to type them down, and I managed to read it. I gave it to Polly, etc. And then during the corona, I found a lady who was willing to translate it to Hebrew for kach vekach, and I have all the text now in Hebrew. And from these letters, I learned a lot of things on my early childhood, and I know who was feeding me. The lady, it was a far cousin by marriage of my biological father, who managed to escape from Zrenjanin and found refuge in the house of my father, because father was rich, and she started there to nurse the kid and clean and feed it. And she had a son who was born in February and July, so she was giving me milk. And after the war, they moved to another place. And as I was searching the family, one day, the lady who was nursing me came to visit in Israel. She went back to Novi Sad and moved to the States. And some years ago, I have found her children, her son, that I call him my milk brother. And they have a vacation place in the same island where my cousin. So we meet every summer.
That's amazing. That's incredible.
You know, this that I found them, this is one thing. But the other was that I wrote...
But without these letters, you wouldn't have found?
What?
Without having these letters...
Yes, not only letters. I guided some groups from Novi Sad, and I was telling everybody that I'm my origin, and she said, oh, there was, because the names I found in the letters, the Colin family. And then she said, I work in pathology in the hospital of Zagreb, and there was a Marta Colin. I will ask her. So I asked her, he said, I don't know, my husband is a Catholic, but his mother was a Jew. And so I found my brother of milk, and almost every day they live in San Diego, and almost the last day I speak with her on the Skype.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, they left Novi Sad, and they live in San Diego, and I met her family and some of the grandchildren. She has 2 daughters, so we are very close. As she said, I am Marta, and she's the small Marta because she is a small lady. No, this is how I found. I found another relative also, but unfortunately I arrived the last moment. A few days later, he passed away. That was the cousin of Olika, who was killed in Auschwitz. When he had pictures from her where she was small, and he said me that they searched her for the Red Cross, nothing found. And it was amazing that I went there and we spoke Serbian. Although I don't know, I never used Serbian or Croatian because at home we spoke only Hungarian.
But you can still understand it and speak a bit?
Now, yes. I gained back some of the vocabulary that I had from those times. And as I told you, I guided groups and I learned from them. I asked them, I make mistakes, please correct me. I start to read, to hear, and I speak the language. So here I have Asian pictures that I managed to find, but I don't have any picture of myself as a baby. The first one I have when I was in Budapest at the age of 3, something like this. And this belonged to my aunt.
Well, I think if you yeah, that's wonderful.
Okay, this belonged to my aunt.
Well, that's the original star.
Yes, it belonged to my aunt, Ilona Kasowicz-Lompel, who lived in Novi Sad. It was her.
And then this is a picture of the synagogue in Novi
Yes,
Sad.
but there are better pictures of the synagogue. This was the time with this. No. This is my biological mother pregnant with me. And this is here my father.
When did you first see these pictures?
Where?
When? How old were you when you first saw these pictures?
No, there are 2 albums that my mother managed to save. There are pictures from 1927 of the family. almost 100 years. They found in the house.
But when you first saw the picture of your mother, how old were you when you realized that was your mother?
I saw those pictures and I know that she is my aunt.
You didn't know it was your mother?
Yeah. Because there were no very similar. Both of them were glasses. And this Robbie, this was my brother. But I have better pictures.
Marta, no, I just want to see, it's just so special.
I have a better picture of Robbie. He was written in the ספר הילד של קרן קיימן שהוא נולד. סבא שלי היה ציוני. 1938.
She was a beautiful lady.
Yeah, she was beautiful. She was sexy. And she loved boys.
And the picture with Robbie and playing the piano. It's amazing that these pictures survived. And these, that's the original picture.
Yeah. Those. No, this is not original.
That's the original, yeah.
Grandfather.
Can we see the picture of your grandfather?
Yes, grandfather with Robbie.
And the picture next to...
No, this is my father with some friend.
Oh, Marta, can we just see with your father?
Yes, I show you a better picture. This is our house in Belgrade.
So it was quite a modern looking house.
Bauhaus.
It is a Bauhaus.
Yeah. Look at this picture. This is the keyboard that is a shawl. Recognize this? It's a rod.
Who's in the picture?
Who is in the picture? This is Shari, Margot, Evie, Joka, and my father. My biological father with the mustache. This is the furniture of their house.
That's the furniture, that's right.
Yes, it is a shawl.
That's what he has in his home.
Yes. I didn't want to take it. I don't have place where to put it.
He's very proud of the furniture, very.
No, there is another one.
And Martha, the old picture, you have...
This one?
Yeah.
I don't know. This is some kind of relative from the Ladany family in Jerusalem. I tried to find it out, but there is no date on it. It was fashioned at the time to go to a photographer and he gives you a uniform. You are check. This is the balcony on the house of Belgrade, the 5 cousins. I wasn't born yet at the time. Nice picture of Robbie that I love very much. This is in my room.
These are just amazing pictures. And Martha, when you saw the picture of your mother and your father, how did you feel when you realized that these were your biological parents? When you saw the picture?
I knew that they exist, but I knew them like as an aunt, not as a parent. So you have different feelings to family member, and then you grow up with this, and one bright day you say, no, they are not this, they are this. So the whole situation, it was difficult. And although I don't believe, I got fever. I have been about a week with high fever in bed, because I have heard this in Jerusalem, where as I was a student and I was married, and we didn't have our flat yet because my husband learned in Haifa. So we have been at my mother-in-law. I went home, I entered the bed. I don't believe I cried even, but I just got high fever. I didn't speak. Dr. Kohn came to visit me, didn't find nothing, but I was still in bed. It took me time to get out and to go back to study, to learn. And as I told you, after a year, I was enough, I got enough strength to say, my mother, I know the truth about my love, and we continue.
And she was fine, she was...
No reaction, nothing. Because she was always afraid, even as a child, that if I knew the truth, I will run away.
And how old was Robbie when he was taken to Auschwitz?
5, 6, 5.5. And this we are in Basel after Bergen Belsen.
So this is in 43 with your grandparents.
Yes. And Shaul as well.
Martha, this is the original furniture from...
Novi Sad.
Novi
I
Sad.
believe I was born here in this bed, was in another mattress.
And this is the original bed as well?
Yeah. This is the original toilet, and even it works.
Wow. It's
Even it
amazing.
works.
Martha, this is incredible. So this is the original bed.
Yes. There is also a wooden part here, but I didn't want to close the window.
It's incredible, Martha. This is... And it was also all part of the original furniture?
No, not the chair.
No, not the chair, but the...
The commode, yes, this, the night. This is not the original because they don't have, but only what they have, what they do now. This is a family tree that I made to my grandson Itai for his bar mitzvah. And here I have my grandparents and the sixth sister that he got. It goes according to the age and every family what they built. The other one's Clara, and she has two sons, George and Vitsko. George has two children, Andrea and Andrea is married, Andrea is blind, and she works in Brussels like a simultaneous translator. Her brother is Marian. And then came Ilona, the pianist, who had no family, and then came Margot and Dejo Zemanek, and they have Eva, and Eva was adopted by the Turkel family and Moritza. Eva married an Israeli called Ranan. He has two children. They have Dorit, and from her first husband they have it. From George Vincent they have it. Philip. This is a family of Philip, and they live in Croatia and in Slovenia and in Belgium, and live in France. Now I have Zsuzsa, my elder sister, and her husband, and she has two children, Eitan and Ziv. Ziv has a son, Dimitri. They live in France. Then comes Shaul and Shosh, his late wife, Danit, their daughter, his husband, and here there are only two children, but they have three children. And then it's me and my husband, mother, Rula Flatto, and I am among Joka and Piri. So as you see, I among them. My biological parents are Piri and Bela Zemanek, and here I have a picture as I was 4 years, something like this, in Budapest, and with Robbie, and then I have my husband and my family here down. And it was done in 2007.
It's amazing.
And actually this was my first work that I made it for my son who married Boaz. This is my first.
And here's a picture of your family.
Yeah. Meanwhile we grow. So I'm waiting to have here another one, and then I make a new one.
It's wonderful.
Last year I went to the commemoration in Bergen Belsen with my children. They came with me.
This is taken in Bergen Belsen.
Yes, this picture, 4 of us.
And Martha, how was it like going to Bergen Belsen?
How much?
How did you feel going to Bergen Belsen? Was it difficult to go?
In a way, I have been already 5 times, and I'm not going anymore. I'm fed up. In Hebrew it sounds better, mitziti at Bergen Belsen. I summarized it already. I was first time like a child, then I went with my cousin alone when I felt that can co-visit. I ordered a visit. We have been there from 10 o'clock till 5 in the afternoon. And then I was 3 times invited to the commemoration. And that's enough. That's enough. I'm not going this year, although I got invitation. No.
What is left of the camp? Do they still have remnants of the camp in Bergen Belsen?
Very few. They have a new museum, and the refugee camp, what became later for the DP camp, people live there. Now it belongs to the army, and there are several graves, and there are parts for the Russian casualties. But from the barrack where we have been, there is a grass and the trees. It's so nice forest. No, that's enough. Okay.
This is your grandfather's
Zemanek.
kibbeh in Novi Sad?
No, Novi Sad, yes.
And this picture, this is at the cemetery?
Yes, this is the cemetery. This was some commemoration. This is the Ila commemoration. Now, I have to explain you about this stone. When the mother of my grandfather passed away, he buried her nearby. And then he bought a grave for him and for his wife. And since he was buried, thrown to some ash in Auschwitz, nobody was there. And then when we have been in Israel, my mother asked her sister to put a stone to commemorate all the people that perished in the Holocaust. So all the names, those who were killed in Novi Sad and in Auschwitz, are on this stone. But nobody is buried here, just commemoration stone.
And this is in Novi Sad?
In Novi Sad. And then my Aunt Ila, who passed away, she is on the other side. She was buried here. Ila, the pianist. And there is still another empty.
And are there any Jews living there today?
Yes, they renovated, and in Europe there is a law. If somebody doesn't pay the taxes for the cemetery, after 25 years they are taking out the bones to a common grave and they sell it to somebody else. In many places in Europe. Yeah.
Well, please God, this will just remain.
Yes, I was every time when I was there, I sent money to keep the cemetery, and as I know, it was not sold for the time being. I have people who I know in the community. I was several times. Always I donated money, and I said this is to say Iskor on Yom Kippur or for the grave or for you, whatever. But many years I haven't been. I was in the 14th. Today, together with Lydia, my daughter, the Istadrut Olei Yugoslavia, they made a film, Anishkachim. Sometime they put it on Yom HaShoah on the television.
Well, that's amazing. May the memories be for eternal blessing.
We can make, like in Leila Seder, היו יושבים במסובין ומסובין מדור הבוקר.
Well, you are just amazing, and really, kol hakavod what you do.
This Chanukia belonged to my mother. She received it as a wedding present. It's not from silver, and this was the luck of it. It was not stolen. Because although we managed to bring it to Israel, thief break into the house of my mother 7 times. And they took all the silver, but this remained. And when this remained, I said that when the time comes, please, I would like to have it. Then she said, take it now. So I took it.
And this is more than 100 years old?
Yes. This tile was made in Germany somewhere around 90 years. And it was originally for oil. Here was a small can that is missing, and this is something provisory that my husband added. And you can hang it on the wall.
It's a mazal that it wasn't stolen. Wow, it's amazing.
And I use it with my grandchildren, my children, every year.
And Hanukkah's coming up soon. That is so lovely.
I just wanted to show you the Hanukkah.
It's lovely.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank you for the interview, and my message is to my dear family. I hope that they will grow, and I will have more great children, and I want them to be healthy and keep working, and the most important thing is to stay here in Israel and believe in our future. As we came to build our country, we don't have another one. As we say, אין לי ארץ אחרת. And we all love the country, and we are spread in different places here in Israel. And let's hope for peace, and this war should be ended, and we have to learn to compromise and love each other as much as we can, and stay and build, and never lose the hope. עוד לא אבדה תקוותנו.
It's very beautiful and very meaningful. So Martha, it has been the greatest honor and privilege to be here with you, and from the bottom of my heart I am so grateful to you. You are just somebody we should all really strive to emulate. The way that you conduct your life, the way that you've done not only research, but you tried to keep the family together, you made the connections. You are absolutely unbelievable. And what you went through, and you're so positive, it's amazing. It really is incredible.
Thank you.
And you should just have nachas and briut, and just, we always say, maybe streaming good health, and seeing your family. That's really they say it's the nachama and the nakama, and it really is. So Marta, if I could ask you, could I get a blessing from you? Being a survivor.
Yes. Okay. I'm happy you're doing it because this is a very important thing to document what was in the Shoah. My generation, we are passing away. In a few years there won't be first generation. So you will be able one day to tell to your family, I met once a real Holocaust survivor.
But very special. Everyone is special, but you exceptionally special.
Thank you very much.
Martha, I'm so grateful to you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
I am like an olive oil, you know. You push apart, you destroy, you burn, you cut, but always there is a side branch that it comes out and goes on.
But Martha, the truth is your story is something extraordinary. It really is. And the way that you've dealt with it and the way that you've handled it, I think it's just amazing. There's so many people when they find out, about their parents with adoption and that they can't handle it. And look, you've handled it.
I never was a shrink. I never went to a shrink. Never ever.
You really are phenomenal, and I'm so grateful to you. And it's been just such an honor and a privilege to be here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.